Welcome to this edition of The Situation right now here on Heart and Soul TV and radio in proud partnership with the IRI. Now, this edition we're going to be talking about devolution. We're going to be talking about decentralizing power to the people so that the people have the power to control what development happens in their area. Now, we are joined in studio by the mayor of Harare, His Worship the Mayor Jacob Mafume, and we're also going to be joined by Open Pali, the young people who are looking to drive and make sure that leaders are accountable and the youth, the young people in this country have a say in the future of their country. Now, wherever you're listening or watching, we would want and appreciate to hear your comments and your participation. Are you participating in the development of this country? Are you being heard? Now, I'll just start with you. Just kindly introduce yourself and what it is that as young people we are looking to achieve through these initiatives.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Wisdom Mera. Currently I'm running the Open Council initiative, which is a sort of like a subsidiary of Open Pali, because Open Pali deals with parliamentary issues and politics, and then we've created Open Council, which focuses on council issues like devolution. So what we are simply doing is replicating what we've done with Open Pali. We are trying to create a platform where we make leaders accountable and where we bring in residents and citizens to share their views and to interact with their leaders. So we are focused primarily on including the young people, because for so long young people have not been involved in issues of governance, in issues of politics, but we are trying to change that narrative by conscientizing them, giving them information, because Open Pali is an open data project. So we're trying to share with them information, we give them statistics so that they get in and get involved, so that we don't remain with young people who are always being told that you are leaders of the future, leaders of the future. We're trying to avoid that. They have to be involved now and make the future which they want themselves. So that's what we are trying to do as Open Pali.
So in trying to do this, now the mayor is here, in trying to do this in councils, what challenges have you encountered that we can address the mayor right now so that we improve these things? Wisdom.
Okay. The main challenge is in most, I don't know whether it's most African countries or what, is there is a resistance. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's explicit, whereby leaders don't want to release information. So you try to come up with stories, you try to come up with videos, and they are not forthcoming sometimes. Yes, there are a few who are open and share information, but most of them, they're not forthcoming. They have this mentality of thinking that we are trying to sabotage them or trying to fight them. But we're coming with an open mind. We're just trying to provide information to people. So if we're just open, we just provide the information. We have no other mandate beyond that, any negative mandate. But that's the main challenge, that leaders, especially politicians, they have this sentiment of thinking that it's journalists, you are trying to fight them some way, somehow, I don't know.
Why do you resist with information, Mayor? Why do you think that while it's your public servants elected into office by the public, the information that you get should be yours?
Well, I'll speak to myself. I'm one of the most accessible politicians, public servants in this country. I don't hide information as the mayor of Harare. As Harare one, I believe that my primary duty is to the citizens, and I've carried it out, and I am as open as I can be. But I can understand what he's talking about. What we are doing is we are going through these institutions. I've also found that even as a politician, as an outsider, this is my first time as a councillor, you find that there are layers and layers of information that is buried under technical jargon, huge documents, confusing statements, and sometimes archaic English. So if you look at our minutes, for instance, Harare City Council, it's a pile of papers written in a manner that a common person does not understand. You do not know what are they talking about. You only learn later on, look, your area has been designated a swimming pool after it has happened. And when you go and inquire, you are told, oh, look, we put an advert in a paper. No one reads papers anymore. Things are in social media. An advert is put in the Herald and so forth. So at the end of the day, you find what they are talking about in terms of accessing information. There are many barriers to it. It's not only resistance, but it's also the way and manner that the information is packaged. What we need to do is to revolutionize the way we do our minutes, how we advertise our things, change the statutory instruments. Where it says to be publicized in a newspaper, we probably should say to be circulated on Facebook and on some other common platforms that people use. So we need to be open, and I'm encouraging the staff under me, the councillors under me, that we need to be as accessible as a God's behind in terms of information to the citizens and everybody else. And also we need to digitalize our processes so that they take, for example, if you want to pay rates, you need to stand in a queue. In this day and age, you go to Rowan Martin or a district office, you stand in a queue just to know how much you are supposed to pay city council itself. Whereas you could get that information simply by interfacing with the system. Your address, your name, your ID, you enter into some place, your history of paying immediately comes up. Whether you are current or not current, you pay. You want to know what's happening to this land or particular school, should be able to go to a digital interface, enter the details of that area. You will be told, no, that one is a clinic, that one is a primary school, and so forth. Open space, and so forth. So it's amazing that for the survival of some of the technocrats, they keep their jobs by not catching up with the digital age. Not knowing that when they catch up with the digital age, there is more money, more faith from the citizens, and even more jobs that will be created.
I understand that as Open Council, you also have certain groups of people and councillors that you work with and young people. What has been their major issues as they try and interface with council?
All right. Just before that, I want to support what the mayor said about institutional problems or barriers that have been there. If you take, for example, if you try to access minutes for the full councils, you are supposed to pay. If you go to a council, you are not paying. They just send on social media platforms, just access them. If you go to Chitungwiza, they have no valid reason why they can't give you those minutes, but they won't give you. But they have no reason, they have no legal reason, they just don't give you. If you talk to the spokesperson, he just says, this issue, I can't help you.
That's paid. So, what I will commit to you is that as the secretary, I'm also the secretary for local government,
Alright.
for the MDC-Alliance. And some of those councils are under our control, and we will commit that they should make sure that you receive those councils, and you should follow up with me so
Right.
that you are able to receive those minutes. We cannot have in this day and age a council or a councillors that refuse with minutes for whatever reason there is. And in any case, those minutes should be typed or are being typed on a computer, and they must be circulated as soon as they are corrected and as soon as they are done in that minute. So if there are councils that are behaving in that manner, please alert me so that we make sure that we rectify council by council.
Well, we'll be very grateful for that. All right, turning to your issue, I would say the main challenge raised by residents, mostly these days, is about service delivery. And in dealing with these issues, we've discovered that because we have open council, Marondera, Mtare, Masvingo, Harare, and we are going to open in Kariba, in Midlands, in Bulawayo. So in dealing with these issues, you find that there's a common strand of issues that are being faced by councils. And you realize that there is something that is common among them is the reason. So residents have been complaining about service delivery. So various reasons are cited. Some cite political issues, some cite macroeconomic issues. But the generality of the residents, they have common issues. They are complaining about poor service delivery. So what we do as Open Council under Open Pali, we try to provide answers and solutions by providing information, especially the minutes. We try to break down, as the mayor was saying, that some of these minutes, even if you read them, if you are not well articulate, you may not even understand what is being said. So what we do, we try to break down that information through social media. We have Twitter handles for all these Open Council sites. So we try to break that information into pieces which people can comprehend, which are easily digestible for the ordinary person, so that people, when they raise issues, because sometimes you realize that residents complain over issues which they may not even understand. So the problem is not necessarily that council is failing sometimes. It's just because people are not understanding or they don't have the proper information. So we are trying to fill that gap by providing that information so that we reduce the tension and the friction that is existent between the residents and the councils. So we cover that gap by giving them information and giving them access to the leaders themselves. So we find that we also have some ward meetings that we cover. If councillors are having ward meetings, we can cover them so that they can reach a wider area. But as I've said before, some councillors are not even willing to invite us to cover their own ward meetings. Therefore, you don't even understand why they don't even want that, because we simply provide them a wider audience by covering their meetings. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge that we have been facing. But I think as more and more information is getting out, there are many that are willing. As the mayor said, he's one of the few that are very open if he's approached. We've done some many articles on him and others, but some of them, they still are cloistered in the bureaucratic whatever, where they are not supposed to be easily reachable. I don't think I think maybe it's a perception which they have that as an office holder of note, you must not be easily reachable, maybe to create a certain aura of power. But over time, it's actually detrimental to you as a politician, because people will vote and support somebody who is visible to them. Yes.
Yeah. So Mayor, this issue here, Wisdom raises that you are not communicating well with the residents, so they don't even understand really why service delivery is not happening. This is the major issue.
Yes.
Because they complain about issues because at times they don't even have the information.
Yes.
Yes, I think we also need to, yes, I think we cannot have dinosaurs politics or fossilized politics where a person thinks when they are elected into a service position, they've been elevated into a privileged position. These are service positions where you are supposed to be accessible and in service to the people. And for those councillors that are under our control, the MDC-Alliance led by Nelson Chamisa, I will undertake that we will make sure that all of them are accessible, and also those that might not have capacity to do these things can be trained in terms of how they engage with the media, engage with platforms such as yours, so that there is a symbiotic and a mutual beneficial relationship that will then also benefit the residents. But I also want to challenge you to be able to copy what's happening in other countries and to be able to lobby the framework of devolution. You know, it's weird that we have a big city of 3 million people without a localized radio station, localized TV station. You know, Harare is bigger than or more than 15 countries in terms of population on the African continent. And it therefore can sustain radio stations or TV programs that are solely designed for Harare. And that is what other cities have done and are doing, so that at least there's constant interaction with the citizens of Harare. If you don't do that, what can happen is that you are relying for information on interviews and little snippets. So develop. We need dedicated radio station, community radio station. We have what is called the Capital FM, which I think, not to talk about other people here, has not lived to the purpose that it is supposed to live. And so the Harare residents do not have access, and it goes for other cities themselves. There is no reason why they should not have community radio stations. Now it's going to be easier because we are now moving to the digital platforms. So almost every household will have those boxes, those digital boxes, and the channels that are open for Zimbabwe and Harare will be multiplied tenfold if we are using digital platforms. So we need to take advantage of that and start planning to say, how do we move to those platforms so that we can have constant interaction with the citizenry. Otherwise, we as council are quite willing to work with your platforms, and will encourage all the other councils that are hesitant to be able to open up. And also, you need also to assist in terms of creating the infrastructure for devolution. If you were reading the paper, Zambia, the Zambian president, the new one, announced a week ago that he has given all local authorities the monies that are due to them under the devolution funds. Okay? And he announced it and said they then should not have an excuse in terms of the money and the allocations that are supposed to come from central government. But we, in terms of the local authorities, we don't get the money from Zinara. Now the money from Zinara is going to, what do you call it, CMED, and they are building the roads in a manner that is surprising. They start a road here, it ends in the middle of Norway, and so forth. Money right now, clinics and hospitals are under threat. They want to be taken from councils. Transport, ZUPCO, has already been taken. Water, the minister at a workshop in Kadoma said he was wanting to give water to Zinwa, and it was a disaster the last time. So government is moving towards the centralization, the opposite of devolution. And if groups like yours do not watch that, at the end of the day, you will find that there will be no devolution to speak about, with everything being done from the central, from the center. So you need procurement now. Every city council, the procurement is centered at the president's office. So whereas we are talking devolution, the country is moving towards centralization. So you've got to watch that and be able to create frameworks. Otherwise, you'll be complaining to the wrong people. And the things will be taken from you, and they will be using your criticism as the justification why they are taking things. But they'll make it worse. Things that were centralized in government have collapsed. NRZ collapsed, CSC collapsed, ZESA collapsed, currency collapsed. The central government is like a flesh-eating parasite that destroys everything, like a disease parasite, like these viruses that are there. You see, the viruses are very funny creatures. They kill the host where they thrive, and both of them are buried very quickly in the sand. So that is how central government behaves with the institutions that it controls. It destroys them faster and is buried with all of them. And you need to watch that.
Wisdom, are you worried about this aspect? or do you notice the aspect that the mayor raises, that we are moving back to centralization, to a centralized government instead of devolving power? So in your communities, as you talk to councillors, do you have a sense of this happening?
Yeah, I think the issue of devolution on paper and in practice not being there has been one of the core issues that we've been trying to cover and try to follow to see why it is happening like that. Because currently we have had councillors who have complained that, or MPs who have even complained that we have structures for devolution that have been there and personnel that have been there. Some have even been paid for being in those provincial councils, but they are not operational. So you find that it's a problem that is there. Residents, the problem with residents, especially in terms of devolution, not many of them really understand what it is or how it is supposed to go about, beyond just knowing that devolution is about devolving power to the lower structures. But beyond that, they don't even understand. So we've just tried to provide that information to people to understand what devolution is about. But yes, we are concerned because devolution is something that is very progressive, and we expected government to really follow it through and implement it. But yes, it is not coming through. But government has defended itself. I think we've heard Minister July Moyo saying that whatever they are doing, that is the proper way. He has defended himself, but other analysts have said no, we can't have this, that is not devolution. Yeah, so we are very concerned because that is not how it is supposed to go, and the residents are not yet seeing the benefits of devolution as it should be.
Now the mayor is supposed to rush for a full council meeting. We have just pulled him out of the for a full council meeting. But before you go, Mayor, what are your words? I mean, I just want us for you to touch on one issue that Wisdom has raised, that this absence of service delivery. You are failing to provide service delivery. We have seen pictures of Harare in a mess that have been circulating on Facebook. Presidential spokesperson George Charamba, Nick Mangwana, the government spokesperson, and also ZANU-PF, humping that the MDC-Alliance have totally failed the citizens in delivering service delivery. And as you close, what are your words to the people of Zimbabwe?
Well, we, the people of Zimbabwe at large, and the people that live in the cities, we have kept the cities alive for as long as we could. The absence of devolution is threatening the very existence of cities. The government has taken control of the roads. It wants to take control of the water. It has taken control of the revenue. It took control of the electricity. It took control of the transport. It has taken control of everything that the city does, right to the approval of budgets, right to the employment of senior employees. You cannot buy a toilet paper without seeking the approval of the president's office. Now that situation makes it very difficult for councils to work. In other words, we always beat a government in the cities, but the government that we have beaten is the one who has to supervise. Let me give you a simple example. When you are applying for a job, you get the job, but the person who becomes number 2, who doesn't get the job, you are then told is your supervisor. That person does everything to sabotage you. I've been on suspension more than I've been on office for any reason and flimsy excuse. All the mayors are under threat, recalls, councillors, 26 of them in Harare are not in office. That does not allow for service delivery. The interference by central government on local issues has created a situation where a mess has been created. We therefore have to work together to be able to push that we provide service delivery even in these harshest of circumstances. So we will focus on the collection of litter. We will focus on creating a framework that allows us to deliver, and we promise the residents that the devolution is a fight. We have to fight for what we ought to get, and we must not tire. And very soon we should be able to overcome and create cities that are the envy of everyone. Harare was the envy of cities the world over, and it can return to that. And we, as the MDC-Alliance, are committed to return it to that status. Thank you.
Now we'll turn to the second segment of this program, where we speak devolution, accountability at local level. Thank you very much, Mayor Jacob Mafume, for giving us your time. We wish you the best in your full council deliberations.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
welcome to the second edition of The Situation right now, where I'm in studio with Wisdom from Open Pali, Open Council, where we are discussing the issues about council and devolution and powers going to the people. Now, we are in this segment, we're also going to be hearing the voices of the people from the wards and areas that our Open Council has been working. Now, the mandate or the organizational structure of RI is to promote democratic space to ensure that people's voices are heard and that they can speak to those who are in power and their interests are protected. Now, Wisdom, you say you've been working around areas in Marondera, Goromonzi, and Manyami. Now, how do people relate with power in those areas?
Okay, the way people still see their leaders who are in positions of power is still very, it's not progressive to use that word, because they think and feel that somebody who is in power is above them. They don't approach them in the proper way, where they should look at them as people who are supposed to offer them services. They see them as some kind of alphas before whom they should show respect. So they cannot properly seek for accountability from those people. That's why you find that most of these leaders, they indulge in many excesses where they abuse money, they abuse offices, they abuse vehicles and so forth, because the way people in our country relate to power or to people in positions of power is in a certain way wrong. As the mayor has said before, that these are positions of service, providing services. So in a certain way, these are our servants. They are supposed to provide the service to the residents. But now we have got a problem which needs to be dealt with maybe over time. It's a cultural issue where people have a wrong approach to power and to people in positions of power, because they respect them, maybe it's to say too much. Of course, they should be respected, but some of the respect is actually dangerous, because you end up being a resident who cannot demand what he is paid for. It is only maybe in these days, maybe due to social media and the cross-pollination of ideas among various people and nationalities, that people now are getting more conscientized to know that we are really in a position to demand certain things from these leaders. We are really in a position to demand certain services because we've paid for them. This is not something that is being done for us out of benevolence. It's something that we've paid for, and it is our right that we should get it. So I think before as more information goes out, people are becoming more conscientized, people are becoming more open-minded to understand their position and the actual position of people in positions of power, to know that these people, they are not necessarily, they are not really above us as to do whatever they want, but they are just there to provide a certain service to us. So I think if it continues like that, we can make progress as a country, but of course it's still there. I think if you look at many rural areas, that's where it is mostly like that, where people have a wrong approach to power. They still treat their leaders as some kind of say some demigods. Like, that's why you find so much use of words like Babavedu, the like, it's that mentality. It's the wrong approach to power, where you try to make a leader your father. I mean, that's where it's coming from. So as information is spreading out, as we are trying to bridge those information gaps that I've been talking about, we're just trying to open people's mind to say, no, they're in positions of power, but they are your servants. They're supposed to provide certain services. You have a right to demand water if it is from council. You have a right to demand collection of bins because your money has been taken and you're supposed to receive that service. So as Open Council, we are trying to bridge those information gaps, conscientizing people, opening people's minds, giving them statistics to say this is the budget, this is how much is going to be taken from you. So you should be able to demand certain things because your money has been taken.
Yeah. Now, as we speak about this power people relations, especially in the rural areas, and the like, I also want to see the role of the youth in this. Hopol Chingono on social media once called them unfocused youth. In your interaction, what is the appetite for young people to be involved in these spaces?
All right. Young people, yes, I wouldn't support the term unfocused youth as such, but they are actually victims of a peculiar situation that we have in this country. Those supposed land-focused youth, they are actually victims themselves. So there is little appetite for them to be involved in issues of governance, save for a few that are more conscientized and that are more open-minded. But many of these youth, they are simply trying to earn a living first. So if you are a youth who is unemployed, who is trying to find a job, and you are being told issues about governance and the like, sometimes you may not resonate with those things because to you it's something that is secondary. You are focused on trying to make a living. So because of that situation now, the youth are simply victims of a situation where they have other more pressing issues they have to deal with. I need a job. That is more pressing. That is a more pressing issue to me than following up a council. But you find that ultimately you suffer for that because the councillor, when nobody is following up on him, when he has got no accountability, when there is no transparency, you want to provide services. So your situation becomes even more worse. But the youth, yes, not many of them are interested in issues of governance. That's why I find that most political parties now are actually carrying out campaigns to try to draw them in, to try to entice them to be involved. But because of the peculiar situation we have in this country, it will be very difficult for most of these youth to get involved. With the programming, not on which we covered, which dealt with drug abuse. And in interacting with the youth, if you ask them why they were not taking part of the like, they would say, what use is it to me? I need a job. Some would support even their use of drugs by saying that we don't have jobs. Or what do you want me to do? And if I use some drugs, it will reduce some of the stress and the like. So it's simply an issue that youth have more pressing issues. It's not their problem. It's a situation that we have as a country. They have more pressing issues, so they are not that much interested in issues of governance, in issues of council issues. Like in the past, people were not really focused on issues of council issues. People were mainly focused on national politics. People were focused on the presidential issues and the legislators and the like. But we are trying now to change the situation to show the people that local development starts at the council level. It doesn't start at the national level. It starts at the council level, and that's where you have to put focus. But because of the situation that we have in the country, the macroeconomic situation, the political situation in the country, it will be very difficult. It will take a very long time to get youth very much interested in issues of governance.
Mm-hmm. But is it not that their situation can improve if they are focused on the political question?
Yes, very true. It can improve if they are focused, but the problem is getting them to understand that, to make them understand that you need to get involved, you need to follow up on these people, to change that situation which you are trying to focus on. But now, that's a long-term thing, that's a long-term process, which they are not willing to partake in, because their issues, they are immediate. They want immediate solutions. That's why you find these youth chasing after some social people who seem to have answers or solutions for the immediate. So they are more likely to follow those people because they want solutions in the immediate. They are not willing to take part in a process that is going to take 5 years, that is going to take 10 years.
So your program, Wisdom, from my understanding, is that it seeks to change that. Yes. It seeks to make sure that youths are more focused on their political and they become citizens instead of subjects. Yes. How is it working out?
I think it's a project that started a few years ago. I think the progress has been very positive because we've seen so much youth partaking in social media programs that we hold, especially Twitter Spaces. We have been holding Twitter rallies. We've been flighting various programs on social media where most youth are found. So I think we have created an environment where youth can very much take part and get involved in the issues of national governance and the issues of local authorities. So I would give ourselves a positive rating that we are dealing with a situation that is very big because the country as a whole has degenerated over a long period of time, and us as an open council, as open party, we are a very small unit, a very small project that is trying to change a very big issue. So we've made much progress. Youth are getting involved, they are taking part, we are interacting, they are profiling their ideas. So I think we are doing very well in that area.
In that quagmire, you are competing with Statelicious, with
with Passion in Java, So that's one of the problems, because for people to focus on substantive issues, because currently there's an information survey due to the internet and the like. There's so much information that is out there. It's different than in the past, where there was a drought of information. You had a very difficult time to access the information. But today it's different. There's too much information that is out there that is easily accessible. So as a project now, we have to create ways to compete with those kinds of people. Those kinds of celebrities. And today we have social media celebrities, people who are not really doing anything substantive to change the governance problems or the political issues, but they are doing things that are attractive to the youth, but they don't make a difference to the problems that we have. So we are trying to compete against those people, against those things, and yes, I would admit that it's very difficult. It's very difficult. You see the drawing power of a social media celebrity like Passion Jaffa against our own, sometimes the disparity is surprising, because you realize somebody but this guy, what he's doing, it's not really something that changes anything. But what we are trying to do is progressive, but the followers, the interaction is very low as compared to the other side. But
yeah. So there is what interests the public and what is interesting to the public, and this is what is battling it out on the information space. But Wisdom, the youth are the center of 2023 general election, as you can see. ZANU-PF is doing the youth, MDC-Alliance, which are our major political parties, so to speak, at the present moment. And yet you say that we have that challenge. What is your view in terms of the 2023 general election when it's being fought around the youth?
Yeah, the 2023 election will be centered around the youth, because statistically they already make the biggest number. They are the biggest demography. So whichever party will win is to make sure that they have drawn the youth to their side. But the challenge is to make those youth interested in your politics or in your parties, because currently most of these parties, for the ruling party, there's not much that has been done for the youth, beyond the tokenism, where we see some certain youth given farms and the like. But for the majority, you cannot operate a program or a policy where your plan to meet the goals of the youth is to give them certain things, to end some handouts. That is not progressive, or that won't work out in the long run. You have to provide something that is solid, that is progressive, that covers them. But because of the lack of that, there's very little interest in the youth to get involved in politics. The political parties, they know what they want from the youth. The youth, they know what they want from the political parties, but the parties are not providing that. Beyond the promises, if you were to ask today what ZANU-PF or MDC is for the youth, there's not much. There's not much. ZANU-PF as the ruling party has been in power. 2018 it won power based on a manifesto which promised certain things for the youth. And today we are about 2 or 3 years before elections. Not much has happened. So for the youth, of course, the parties want them to be involved in politics, but there is no incentive for the youth. The only incentive that is there for the youth is the promise that if you get involved, then you can influence your future, you can change it. But from 2018, the youth have already realized that we can be involved, but the future may not even change. Because the people who have been there in power promised them certain things in 2018, they never happened. So there is no incentive.
But do you have any words of hope for the young people?
Yes, we always have words for the young people. The word remains the same: get involved and try to change things. There is nothing much beyond that. You have to get involved, because from outside, nothing is going to change on its own. We have already seen that the people who are still ruling this country are the same people who want liberation. They are still there, and the youth have been massaged by being leaders of tomorrow. But that tomorrow has not been coming since then. It has never come. But beyond that, we simply have to tell the youth, get involved. That's what we are trying to do, to tell the youth, get involved. You want immediate solutions for your problems, you want immediate answers, but those immediate answers won't come until you get involved. So you have to sacrifice yourself. To say for a certain period, you have to get involved, you have to push certain things, push certain narratives, push the leaders, seek accountability, seek for transparency in their leadership. until things change, because currently we have institutions that have, you can even say they've rotted. We have institutions that are no longer, that are not strong in themselves. We have institutions that are represented by people. And a whole institution is personified in one person, which is very, very dangerous for a country. So we are saying to the youth, you have to get involved and change all those problems, where an institution has to be independent of anyone, where an institution has to be dependent on the legal statutes that have created it, not on the power of a certain people or a certain person. So the way it remains, for the youth need to be get involved in issues of governance. They need to be involved in issues of local authorities to change those bad precedents that have been set. If they don't get involved, nothing is going to change.
Now, we are just going to turn a little to some of the work that Wisdom and his team have been doing in the communities. We're going to hear the voices of those in the communities and what they think about the power and how they are interacting with it.
Koma upenyu hausi kufamba zvakanaka. Mabasa hasi kubuda, vana takadzidza, but kuti tikwanise kuwana mabasa chaiye kuti tikwanise kushanda chaiye hasi kuwanika. Mosa ndiye hurumende iri kutitungamirira pari zvino. Tikada kuti tikwanise kutaura zvatokwanisa kutaura, zvinongonzi haukwanisi kutaura because isu tisiri panyanga tiri kutonga.
Hurumende iri basa ndikakunyepere basa hangu ini handisi kuwana ende kugona kwaro handisi kumbokuona nekugona kwavo. Nokuti basa chairo hatisimboriwana. Maindastry chaiwo haana kana mabasa. Dai tori maindastry tiri mabasa. Mukatarise kana dressing yandakapfeka mukati ndiri munhu anoenda kubasa here. Handisi munhu anoenda kubasa. Zvinhu zviri kutonetsa. Iye upenyu hwati kungokumbira mukuru wangu.
Life mukoma wangu zvamai manje handikunyepereka. Tiri kuzvimba. Hapana kana chiri kutombonakidza. Because hey, mawani tichikuramba tavanhu vakuru veutoto udai tichitoma something but ukoma vana vabereki varikungoramba vachitichengeta, saka hapana zvatiri kutomboita, life yakaoma.
Mararamiro atakutoita manje akatooma. Nekuti vana chaiye kuti vakwanise kuenda kuchikoro chaiko hatisi kutokwanisa kuti vakwanise kuenda kuchikoro. Takungotedzera zvoda kuitwa nomumwe munhu akakuti ita izvi ndozvawakungoita, ita izvi ndozvawakungoita. Nekuti iwe kuti ukwanise kuti uitiwo ngatidai, aiwa haukwanisi kuzviita nekuti isu tisiri kutonga.
Ita basa anga riri anzi machini. Aya mani kuti ndataigadzira mapuranga. Kugadzira mapuranga.
Inini hangu ndine zvakawanda zvandoziya zvemushando wemaoko but nhasi kana ndikada kuti ndidii hapana chinombobuda because hurumende yedu iripo zvamai manje iri kuirwadza. Havasi kukwanisa kutiona kuti hatine vafana vachangokura vanoda kuraramisa mhuri nekuitawo zvimwe zviri nani kuti tirege kuzobata chisiri chedu. Ipapo ichokwada handisi kunyepa zvangu because tapfidza takawanda izvo tikudhakwa nemutoriro, mabhaubhu, mastakin, takaomerwa zvesho. Isadamboti hurumende imbobvo iripo, pambotongo aripo izvo zvimuresi. Ombomupo tomboona kuti tomboita sei. Because pakaipa ndinyepe. Tomboda kutrayawo. Kana atadzawo zviriko, kana agona tagonerwawo tese. Nangu ndovaona nekuchenjera kwavakaita nekuziva kuti aiwa zvinhu zvese zvinotangira kwavari. Patinawo yekuti muno muZimbabwe hamene kuti vanhu vanongada kuti tinyatsoita sei. Because zitosarudza sarudzo dzedu but vanodzosvika pakudziramba. Saka ndichaziva manje kuti toita sei mageto youth. Papa pangobata chimu unovhwa pinda mukati. Unotongerwa kana 12 years uri kujera apa wabaka foni. Saka tikuti ngazvimbotenderero zvimboendewo kune vamwe. Chimbonopiwa kana ndikafa chaiyo ndine muzukuru ndotombo tsvimbo kuti sara naamai guru wako kana nagogo wako. Hazvo but isusu musarudzo dzedu tese maZimbabwe mazhinji takasarudza sarudzo yedu ikarambwa. Saka hatichaziva manje kuti todii neZimbabwe.
Panyaya dzemasweja pakaoma. Kuti mangosvika yenyuda apa ndofunga abva kugadzirwa manje dai maona zvangu zviri kumashure kwangu zvingasatombomira mushe.
Tanga timbori nemaproblemu ekutakurwa kwemabhini asi zvino tinoti zvachinja nekuti vhiki rega rega vanouya vachititakura kana pasina chinetso chedhiziri vanouya saka tirurewo kuti maproblems aanyani. Sewage ndo problem huru, ndo iri kutinetsa mumarondera muno. Vanogone kupedza kana vhiki sewage ichingoerera tichishaya pekudarika ndipo.
Batsiridzo iripo, asi kuti nyaya inenge yakuitika manje ndeyekuti vanenge vakutarisa kuti uyu angakambomira sani, aimbosaidira kupi, aimbodii achidii, ndo mabatsiriro vari kuchiita.
Pane pada kugadzirirwa kwakuru kuda kugadziriswa. Isaita vana zvoda asi kwakuru kuda kugadziriswa. Akuda tombomira musho. Zvotasa tiende kumberi.
Inawo yekuti ipapo right, but nawo iripo ndeyekuti tinenge tine vamwe vanhu kutoti vanogona kuzotipawo mabasa kuti chimbodai kwakauya kana vachena togona kurarama zvinhu zvingurichi zvekuti togona kungonzopinda apa kudai. Saka manje iriko vari kudya wega, hakuna kana basa ratinaro zvamai manje.
Ndichangogapa sakanzela, I did one project and angoitawo as councillor yange iri nyaya yekuvaka footbridge. That's one project and angoita volunteering chibatsira pamwe panzvimbo nekamukarwisi because wadi yangu wadi yakurisa, so kune area nekarwisi ndokwandi ndochinhu chandangoita. But semunhu akangoita wani achangopinda mukanzura urongo hwateninawo wandei hatina kwazozoendera hedu mberi. Riko yakandiafecta not as a councillor only but as a resident. Sevanhu vanenge vachimirira vanhu nharaunda dzatinogara, vanhu vekuvati kwanga tori padisadvantage. Nyaya dzerefuse, nyaya dzesewer blockage, ndo afected yakandida semugaro not as a councillor vachizvangu. Because watinogara kuna munhu achamirira vanhu vari zvinezvi.
Election ikauya ini ndokwanisa kuvhotera kansela wangu nemhaka yekuti zvaanenge achindiitira ndinge ndichitarisa kuti zvakanaka here kana kuti hazvina, saka ndiri kuti ini ndokwanisa kuvhotera kansela wangu.
Kusaziva hangu vamwe vangu, but inini kuvhota ndoziva ndovhota, ngoti zvepane zvenge zvichingoitika kuti zvatinenge tasarudza zvarambwa because vari kutonga ndo vari kuti ndo vari kumberi.
Thank you very much for joining us here on the situation right now, where I was in conversation with the mayor of Harare's worship, Jacob Mafume, and Wisdom from Open Pali, Open Council. Now, Wisdom, your parting words, your words of encouragement to the young people of this country, what is it that sits on your heart? I mean, you're a young person, you're a youth. What has motivated you to be able to stand in that gap? What dreams and aspirations do you have for the young people and for this country?
All right. My words to the youth are very simple. As I've said before, that as young people, we need to change the situation in the country. Our situation in the country is very bad. It's just that as a people, we have gotten used to a situation that is bad, to a point whereby we are not even no longer seeing it to the extent to which it is. Zimbabwe is in a very bad position. Zimbabwe is in a very bad state. There's so much polarization. There's so much hatred. So much so that even good things that are done even by ZANU-PF, some people will attack those things just because they've been done by ZANU-PF. Good things done by MDC, some people attack them because they've been done by MDC. So there's so much hatred in the country. There's so much polarization. So as young people, I urge each one of us to, to get involved in issues of politics, to detoxify the politics, to remove the tension, the friction, the hatred that is there, so that we become a nation that is progressive, a nation that is united by a core vision. Currently, we are a nation that is seemingly lacking a core vision of knowing where we want to go as a nation. We are a splintered function of people who think they want what is good for the country, but we cannot unite over any one thing as a country, even in our seeming desire to change things. So it shows that there are deep-rooted and deep-seated problems with this country, which I think, as the young people, it's our duty to come in, to get involved, and change that narrative, and change that situation, so that we can make progress in the country. Zimbabwe is in a very bad state, and I think the old ones have tried and done their part. We are very much grateful for what they did, but I think the young people need to come in, the young people need to change the situation so that Zimbabwe can go somewhere. Yes.
Thank you very much, Wisdom, and we wish you the best in the work that you continue to do. We know in our next episode we're going to be joining you in one of your moves and work in and around Harare and outside in the rural Zimbabwe. But Wisdom speaks of issue. What is politics? Politics is who gets what, where, and when. Now, politics decides what you get, when you get it, and where. It decides how your child goes to school, or how you go to school, how you access education. It is the principle of deciding how you live your life. And I don't think you should be able to allow anyone to decide what happens in your life in your absence. You must be part of it. You must take charge of your life by deciding who governs you and how they govern you. And they must be accountable. Our Constitution provides that leaders must be accountable to the people. In fact, leaders draw power from the people. The Constitution of Zimbabwe is people power. It's driven by you. It's up to you to realize that power and use it wisely, peacefully, in a manner that builds the nation of Zimbabwe to a betterment. Now, this was the situation right now. This is the situation right now. With me, your host, as usual, Dara Blessed Mhlanga, on Heart and Soul TV and radio. Thank you very much for joining us. And until next time, have a good afternoon.